Welcome back. We continue live right here at Pittsburgh CW. Bob Pompeani with you until 11 o'clock at 412-575-2600. Call us. We have a lot to get into here. I want to read some tweets before I go to the lines. Dak on Twitter, at KD Pomp, says, overmatched, but I like the aggressive approach Pitt is taking, and I do too. I think Jeff Capel has the right attitude. He's been around winning his whole life, really, as a starting point guard for Mike Krzyzewski. 1,600 career points. He then went on to coach alongside of him for many years. He had his head coaching opportunities, a couple of stops, including Oklahoma. Got in a little bit of a trouble there with recruiting. But I like Jeff Capel and sort of the toughness he brings to this team. They're a bunch of young kids who are hungry. They got to kind of reel it in at times because I think they get too much out of control. But on fast break points tonight, they actually have a lead on Duke. It's the inside game and just the overall talent level of Duke that's been the difference. Ken Pittsburgh 33 says, I was wondering if Coach K has players go over and meet Dick Grote, who has his number 10 jersey hanging in the Duke Arena. I know that Coach K feels a lot of respect and love for Dick Grote. I'm sure he at least mentioned that to him tonight. And Jared Starks on Twitter says, if the Reds can pull off what they've done this offseason, so why can't the Pirates? Well, the Pirates could. It's a choice you're making, and right now they're choosing not to spend their money, and it's kind of curious as to why. You know, they still need help at shortstop. I'm not sure who their guy is. They like this Gonzalez they acquired from Cleveland. We'll see how it goes, but right now they haven't done all that much in this offseason. Rocco in Somerset is first. What's up, Rocco? How you doing?
Hi, Bob. How are you?
I'm good.
I got two things. The Chiefs, there was 2 or 3 screen passes that Kelsey wasn't even ready for. That hurt the Chiefs. And then on the defense, they couldn't even stop the Patriots. And then on the Rams, I'm not even a Saints fan. Personally, I like Carolina, but that was a bad call at the end.
That was the worst call. That was the worst non-call in the history of the NFL, in my opinion.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Yeah, you know, New England just dictated everything. They ran the ball right down Kansas City's throat. Tom Brady is, you know, forget his age and physical condition, which is still great, but it's not what it once was, but his mind is so far ahead of everybody else. He knows how to get rid of the ball. He knows what defense he's looking against. He's quick to release it. It's very difficult to get pressure on him, and Kansas City, quite frankly, did nothing against him all day in that regard. Let's go to Dave in Johnstown. What's up, Dave? How you doing?
Well, I just want to say I'm glad I got to meet you one time at Starbucks on Market Square. Market Square. But anyhow, we lost you off of our one channel here in Johnstown. I used to follow you on Cochrane.
Oh, you don't get that anymore. Why don't you get it anymore?
I don't know. They took it off the cable.
Oh, boy.
Because, well, you're CBS and so is Altoona, so I guess that's why. Hey, I don't want to reopen an old conversation, but I couldn't get through last night. Yeah, your co-host on Sunday night was talking to the point he felt that Brady was probably one of the greatest football players. And I have nothing against Tom Brady. He's a good quarterback, but there's a lot of good quarterbacks. But I did some research, and it's interesting. I don't have the exact statistic, but he does things a little bit different because most of his passes are between 10 and 20 yards. His receivers have a phenomenal ability to get open. And it turns out, from what I've been able to determine, that Belichick said he leaves all the play calls to his offensive coordinator. So,
well, I think that man is actually Tom Brady. I think Brady, if you look at him at the line of scrimmage, thanks very much for the call, man. I appreciate it, and hopefully I'll see you again down the road, even though it's not on your cable, but I'm glad you get this one. I think Tom Brady, if you watch him, he changes the play at the line of scrimmage an awful lot. I think he has a good relationship with Josh McDaniels, but I think it's mostly Tom Brady deciding what he wants to do. And when he's doing it, he's terrific. There's nobody better. There's no resume out there that even comes close to him. You can name all the greats in the game. And part of that legacy is cheating. So I think you need to include it. But, you know me, I'm not going to torture the guy for that, just as I don't torture baseball players who should be in the Hall of Fame but aren't, because some people seem to think they're above it all and have to be so-called guardians of the sport. Barry Bonds should be in the Hall of Fame. Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame. Barry Bonds was never tested. You know, we've had this discussion over and over again, never tested positive, never admitted anything. You know, and if you believe that he was on steroids, fine. But how many others were on it, too, that you can't prove or never suspected? How many people are in the Hall of Fame who got through and nobody even suspected? So I prefer to look at what they do on the field. I prefer to look at those results and put people in where they belong. And to me, that's it. I'm not, regardless of the other stuff that goes on, if you're allowed to play and you put up numbers, then to me you should be considered for Hall of Fame status. Tony in Rankin. What's up, Tony? How are you?
Hey, Bob. How are you today?
I'm good. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, thank you. Going back to the officiating in the championship games and also, over the course of this season, it gets to a point where these terrible calls, and the Steelers were victim of it last year, a big one where they had a rule change,
Yep.
It gets to the point where the officiating almost becomes bigger in the game. And not only that, this is a little out there, but maybe there's a higher power pulling some strings that are bigger than the officials that are,
I don't know about that.
I mean these things they happen at the wrong times, and it just seems to turn the tide of the game. It's always like at a pivotal moment. And, like Gene Collier was talking last night about the cheating. And,
well, listen,
how deep does it go? You talk about people talk about the fix.
I'm not going to go to that level. All I'll say is that New England has been very opportunistic about their opportunities. Thanks for the call. I also think they're very talented. I think better than that, Bill Belichick knows how to bring in not necessarily all studs on every position, but he finds people who are good, willing to work, willing to learn, and have IQs that are very good football IQs. So I'm not going to try to discredit what they've done. Part of their history is that they cheated, and the NFL went to great lengths to get rid of evidence, which I found disgusting at the time. I thought it should have been looked at the right way. It wasn't. They got the largest fine in the history of the game, but so what? Bottom line was they cheated, and they got away with it until they got caught. But I'm not going to, again, talk about that over what they've been able to accomplish. Tom Brady's still the best I've ever seen. Dave in Belle Vernon. What's up, Dave? How are you?
Bob, I'm not talking about, so many people talk about the Belichick cheating, and but Peyton, coach from New Orleans, he's got that bounty gate on his record too. You know what I'm
saying? Sure he does. Yep.
You never hear that mentioned.
No, because they don't win enough.
He's not Mr. Perfection either.
They don't win enough, and if they did, you'd bring it up more, and most people would. But because they don't, New England wins all the time. People are sick of them, so they'll bring up anything they can bring. But same thing. Sean Payton, Greg Williams, they were suspended for a year for what happened in that bounty gate kind of thing. So you're right. That's a good point. Thank you for the call. Let's go to Mike, Squirrel Hill. What's up, Mike?
Last August, I called you and told you that the Pirates were about 400,000 below 2017's attendance, and that they would probably cut the payroll. Well, it sure looks like they did, didn't it? They haven't.
It's ridiculous that they cannot use that.
Agents there.
And that's what they've done. They pretty much said, come out and watch us play, and if you do, we'll spend money. That's not the way it goes. First of all, it's called build it, and they will come. If you put together a winning team, people will come. The onus is on ownership to put together a winning team. They need to spend more money to do that. And I'm not saying crazy money, although someone brought this up, and it was a Twitter rumor that has no legs, to be honest. Manny Machado is not coming to Pittsburgh. But if you wanted to bring him here, if you were the Pirates, and you wanted to pay what the market is, you certainly can do that. There's nobody holding you back. And quite frankly, what would it do to their payroll? $71 million, if that's how it's projected now, would go up to $95, $96 million for 1 year. Okay. But you get Manny Machado to play shortstop and hit a lot of home runs batting cleanup. My point is it's a choice that they have to make. And if you don't bring in teams that are competitive, people are just not going to show up. And if you hold that against the fan base, then I think that's the wrong way to go about it. I quite frankly don't think – I think they're going to spend more, and I think they have to. I think they know that. They're waiting for some things to change in the market. We'll see how it goes. Line 2, Marilyn in Munhall. What's up, Marilyn?
Hi, you answered my question by one of your tweets about Cincinnati doing business and trading and getting people, and the Pirates thought, except maybe Machado. Is there nobody else out there that the Pirates should be looking at?
No, there are people out there, and I think the price is going to come down on some of these guys because we're getting close to spring training, and maybe that's what they're waiting for. but they could certainly add to their roster, and I expect that they will. I expected it sooner than now, but hopefully it'll happen in the next couple of weeks. We got to take a break. Ed and Ernest are coming up next. Pitt now trails 65-49 late in the game against Duke. Duke is going to go to 15-1. Pitt, good showing, but not good enough in terms of depth. It's only year one of Jeff Capel, but he's made some inroads, no doubt. We'll be back with more of your calls right here live on Pittsburgh CW.